Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. I am your host, Stephen Nooner.
And I'm your other host, Bob Gibbons, and we are here today with our guest, Melanie Kuhr Murphy, and she is the CEO of Signature Millwork. Signature Millwork is a premier architectural millwork company, and what that means is they make a lot of stuff out of wood, Stephen.
Wow. Well, thanks for that, Bob. I was uncertain.
I figured, but I figured you probably went to her website. But they do all kinds of cool stuff in residential, commercial projects on high-end residential homes, all the way to hotels like the Hilton Anatole, businesses like Hunt Oil's headquarters.
Beautiful
all
work.
the way to the Nasher Sculpture Garden and the Scottish Rite Hospital. I mean, that's a huge range. So they have 35 employees. They've been in business here since 91. And if our listeners would like to learn more about them, they can go to the website at signaturemillwork.com. Welcome, Melanie.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bob did not mention the Gibbons Castle, the work that you guys did on that. I mean, it's incredible.
Gibbons and Castle. You'll never hear those two words in a sentence.
Well, we're glad you're here. We like to start off every show with the wisdom of others. It's just kind of a pithy quote. And we had Bob actually came up with a great quote. And it says, people often avoid making mistakes out of a fear of making a mistake, but actually the failure to make decisions is one of life's biggest mistakes. And that is by Rabbi Noah Weinberg. Why, Bob, did you pick that?
Well, because it's one of those things where, you know, our show is all about entrepreneurs. And if there's one characteristic of entrepreneurs that you consistently see and you assume everybody has is the ability to make a decision. Mm-hmm. And if you can't make a decision, you're paralyzed. You do nothing. Mm-hmm. And I like this quote because they're basically saying, you know, if you don't make a decision, that's the biggest mistake you can make. Mm-hmm. It may be the wrong decision, but you're going to learn from it and you're going to move on.
Right.
And your business, Melanie, you've had to make a lot of decisions.
We make decisions every day. I think that is such an insightful quote because you just have to have confidence to know that you're not going to make all the right decisions. You have to realize that everything that comes along in life has inherent risk, and you just have to make the best decision at the time based on the information that you have, and there is no perfect.
Absolutely.
Even though we'd like perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we one of the other things we like to start off with is learning about our guests and asking what's something about yourself that some people may not know. Maybe your favorite things or whatever.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that people don't know is that I'm a published author, and I wrote the book Das Haus in East Berlin. I co-authored it with Arthur Heise, and it's the story of my family's journey from Nazi Germany. And my mother was a Holocaust survivor, and she left Europe on the Kindertransport. So sort of in a way of paying it forward. I wrote the book to honor them and give people who didn't have a voice to be able to tell their story. And really the most fantastic outcome of the book is my involvement with the Dallas Holocaust Museum.
Very nice.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Mm-hmm. So Mary Pat Higgins is the president and CEO of the museum, and I told her that I self-proclaimed myself as ambassador. And I think she was okay with that. But the Dallas Holocaust Museum is in downtown Dallas, currently at Record Street, and they are in a huge capital campaign to build a new museum that's also going to be center of tolerance and learning. And certainly can't be a better time in the world for that.
Sure.
And the museum really has a great message about understanding or communicating messages about hate, intolerance, and prejudice. And it's not just a Jewish story. I mean, it's a story of
humanity,
of humanity, and don't we see that? And unfortunately, it seems as though mankind still can't learn from its lessons. So the museum, I think, does a very good job of showing what led up to the Holocaust, what the Holocaust was about, but then uses it as a platform for going forward about understanding how these things can happen again, and about the lessons learned in so many different aspects. So I think they do a great job of not just taking that period of time, but about moving it forward.
Yeah, it's a great museum. If our listeners haven't been there, I highly recommend it. And if you have kids, take your kids.
At what age?
I would say like 8 years old.
Well, I think that they really start the curriculum like at 6th grade and above in the public school system, because that's when they're about reading like the story of Anne Frank,
like
and I think they tie it into that.
Okay.
But the museum itself hosts 60,000 school children a year through that 6,000 square foot museum. So it really is necessary in order, to have a bigger place of learning. So one of the shocking things that I've learned about being associated with the museum is how many of those children don't know what the Holocaust was.
It's
Not
amazing.
They are really even unfamiliar about World War II, what caused World War II, what was the outcome of it, and I think that is really disappointing, and just kind of shows the importance of sometimes, having these types of institutions.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Well, let's switch gears a little
Yes.
bit. So Bob tells me that wood is involved in what you guys do. And
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. So tell us a little about Signature. And
Okay. Well, oftentimes when I talk about Signature Millwork, it's the same thing. So what is millwork? And so Signature Millwork is an architectural millwork provider. So we design, build, finish, and install architectural wood panels for walls, ceilings, make casework, cabinets, custom furniture, fixture. When we talk about fixture, it's not about light fixtures. It's about fixtures for displaying products. Like we've built many fixtures for some of our clients nationally, including Hermes of Paris and Tiffany and Neiman Marcus. So that's what that's the fixture business.
Sure.
And then cabinets are both in commercial and in distinguished residential homes. We call it distinguished residential because it is utilizing really high quality wood veneers and craftsmanship, which is different than something that's coming off of a fabricated line. Mm-hmm.
And so then your typical client then, would probably not be the consumer end user. It is.
That's true. So oftentimes people are like, well, can we come to your showroom? So we don't have a showroom because we do completely custom work. So my clients, my customer base are generally general contractors. So I'm a subcontractor. I'm a member of American Subcontractors Association.
Okay.
So we work off of the architectural plans that a general contractor puts out to subs for bid. And my scope is millwork.
Okay.
Meaning all those things that we spoke about. Now, millwork is broken down into different categories. So premier, when we call premier or architectural millwork, we're talking about a lot of the wood structures that you'll see in the main and public spaces of a building. So, for instance, we just completed One Main Place, the Westin at One Main Place. So you'll see our work in the lobby, in the executive briefing center, in the conference rooms, in the auditoriums. We're likely not building out the vanities or doing the ceiling walls and moldings on the guest floors. We can do that, but
Sure.
generally, from a price standpoint, that's not really what our
That's not
sweet
where the
And
spot
you're going
is.
to cover that stuff up with paint anyway, and your stuff is not going to be covered up with
Right,
paint.
and that's really our specialty is utilizing all different kinds of species of wood and the finish that we do our own finish, which distinguishes us from a lot of other millwork
So-
firms.
Yeah, so I'm curious, did
Yep.
you start in this? I mean, it's pretty niche. I mean, it's high end. I mean, did you start there, or was it a business evolution that we're kind of everybody else, and then we said, oh, this is where we need to be?
Well, sometimes life happens. So I think that's part of the exciting part of it, is just where the journey takes you. So the first thing is I describe myself as an unintended author. And the second thing is I'm certainly an unintended mill worker. So I grew up actually in the technology world, and I worked for EDS, now HP, for something like 20 years in the Dallas area. And in 2005, I was part of an investor group that bought Signature Millwork. And candidly, it was some young guys who were consultants, and they'd had enough of corporate America, and they wanted to have a salt of the earth kind of company, and they found Signature Millwork, and they came to us to invest in it. So really, in the beginning, I was just an investor. Then after the financial markets changed, and real estate,
changed.
Melted down, blew up, and construction went right along with it. We experienced a pretty substantial business downturn in 2008, 2009. I think there was something like 175 millwork companies that closed their doors that year. So now I was really invested. I mean, I was invested financially. Now I was really invested financially. So I had just taken off about 8 years to raise my kids. I have 3. So I took a break from corporate life. That was probably the hardest job I've ever had, hardest and most fulfilling job I've had, I will say. And then I really needed to get involved in the business. So that's actually when I met Bob in about 2008 or 2009, and kind of started on the journey of Signature Millwork.
Wow.
So back to Stephen's question real quick, though. So you guys didn't start off on the low end and work your way up.
No.
You sort of,
correct.
The company's always been on the high
So
end.
actually, the company was founded in 1991 by 2 carpenters who worked for Beck Construction years ago. And they started with basically 1 bay of a shop, and the company grew just really through reputation. So we bought it 14 years after they had started it. And we grew it pretty substantially, still having never really gone on advertising marketing campaigns by word of mouth. And so our company has always pretty much been in the niche of architectural millwork. I would say probably the biggest thing that we've changed from a business perspective is that after 2008, 2009, we started to develop more residential work and getting in this niche, and the timing was really perfect.
Okay. And so whenever you were talking about the 175 companies that went away in 2009, was that in Texas or in the U.S.?
That was just in Texas.
I mean, how many can there be?
Well, it's a big state, but there was a lot of meltdown in that industry, and I would assume in probably a lot of the construction in the construction world. And I think that's part of the pressures today, is that at that time, so many workers went out of construction into different areas. And now, particularly in Dallas, which, I mean, you can't hardly turn your head without finding a crane somewhere. It really is, I would say, almost at a crisis level, trying to find skilled and qualified workers.
Yeah, that actually work. Well, we're going to go to a break, but before we do, when we come back, we're going to talk with Melanie. She's going to share how they effectively doubled revenue and virtually eliminated turnover. Stick around.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand. And landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at texastenantrep.com. Again, that's texastenantrep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
I'm Don from Elite Electronics. I was just on the show with Bob and Steve at Next Level Radio. We fix cars for a living. They brought me in here to fix the show, but some things just aren't fixable.
Welcome back, everyone, to the next level. We are here with our special guest, Melanie Kuhr Murphy, CEO of Signature Millwork. If you want to learn more about Melanie or Signature, please visit signaturemillwork.com.
Well, before the break, Stephen alluded to his hook was something about you doubling revenue while also eliminating turnover. Boy, that seems like a lot.
Everybody's ears perked up when they heard that.
Exactly.
Right.
So tell us what that means. How do you do that?
Well, sometimes you just make the decisions and you make the hard decisions and you have to, go with your gut about what's the right thing to do. So in 2009, which was really the first turning point of our business, my partner and I, Jeff McElhaun, we said, well, we're either going to go along with everybody else and we might have to close our doors, or we're really going to go for it and see if we can't retool and take this company to the next level. So no pun intended. So
We appreciate that.
Pun accepted that. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, we retooled the company. We physically retooled the company in terms of investing in equipment like CNCs and edge banders and sanders and things that are pertinent to millwork fabrication. And it was a fortuitous time to do so because we were able to buy equipment pennies on the dollar at the time. So at a time when people then were just saying, I've got to get out of the business, I have to get into different parts of the business, we really knew that what our sweet spot was in terms of the niche we were in, and we knew that we had to be able to figure out how to do it more effectively. So retooling, that was number one. Number two, we were probably the last union shop, the last union mill shop probably in Dallas. And at that time, we also made the decision that we were not going to renew our collective bargaining agreement with the union.
Wow.
That was a very, very difficult decision, and not one that we had any issues with the union. Actually, unions in many ways bring a lot of skills and training and discipline. And I grew up in the Midwest, so it's not something that I had some aversion to, but it was simply we couldn't make the numbers work. We simply couldn't make the numbers work. So the next part of really our retooling was we didn't renew our collective bargaining agreement, and we shared our decisions with our employees. And we called an all hands meeting. And in my years from EDS, when I worked with so many Marines, when they were really having to have a heart-to-heart conversation, they'd say, we're having an open kimono meeting, which is kind of a bad visual, but, it does say, no hold barred. So that's what we did. And we shared exactly the state of our company, our financial state. We talked about the industry. We talked about financial indicators. And we explained to them, you're either with us, and we hope you are, or you can go, and we understand that, but we need you. We're sharing with you the honest truth, and we also, they didn't miss, there wasn't one paycheck that didn't cash. There wasn't a pay period that they weren't paid. There were many that we didn't take.
So how many of them stayed with you?
Every one.
Every one of them.
Wow.
Every single one of them. And I have to say, to this day, we have such little turnover, I can't tell you. And I think it's because that Jeff and I really shared. We knew there was fear. We understood. We had fear too.
Sure.
And we were honest and candid and forthright and said, if you can come up with better solutions than us, because gosh knows, they're the experts in millwork. We weren't. Come forward and help us. And I think that was a defining moment in our
Sounds like
company.
you got them invested in the business at that
Yes.
point.
Got them invested, and I think feeling as though they were a part of the go forward.
And so that had to be scary, but you were just transparent.
Absolutely. On that day, two things could have happened. They could have all gotten up and walked out and gone to go find another assignment that the union might have had for them, or gone to a different shop. So we realized at that point in time, on that morning, everyone could get up and go, and that is really our company are the craftsmen who work there. You can have equipment and you can have fantastic wood species to work with, and you can have great CAD and all that kind of stuff, but unless you have them, we're nothing. And they stayed.
So how do you get out of a union contract? Do you have to get the federal government involved and all that?
You have to have a really good employment lawyer.
Okay. Okay.
See, my only fear about this, you sharing this story, is Bob's going to keep inviting me to open kimono meetings.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Oh my
so
gosh.
anyway,
Now
I wrestled with that, but I was like, sometimes there's just some sort of descriptions that are just
it's perfect.
Yeah,
you
talk
gotta
about the
say
visual
it.
I don't
yeah,
need.
But don't invite me to that meeting. Thank you.
So go ahead.
No, you're going to ask it.
Well, I wasn't. I was going to ask just how technology is impacting what's happening in
That
your
was an
business
ask.
right now. Okay.
Okay, so that really is the next level about technology. So, like every industry, you see it changing. So the next thing that we're really investing in to remain relevant and to continue on this growth trajectory, and in terms of keeping our company viable for our team members. Jeff and I take a lot of pride that we have that, we provide opportunity for people to have a nice livelihood and support their families, and we take a lot of pride in that. That's
something to be proud of.
We think so.
Yeah.
And in order to remain relevant, we have to go really embrace technology. So we are right now in process of reviewing ERP systems, and as a result of that, we have to look at every single step of what goes into designing, building, fabricating, and installing fabulous millwork.
And what's an ERP system?
Enterprise resource. So it's where you basically look at all the inputs to your inputs to your business, the process of your business, and the outputs. So for instance, we work from the beginning when a general contractor issues us architectural plans, and then we draw off those plans. The process of an ERP begins then. So the bidding, the estimating, the designing, the fabricating, the cutting, how the plans are transmitted throughout the process of cutting wood, of laying it up, about ensuring that you have all of the supplies. Do you have the right hardware? Do you have the right interiors? Do you have the right types of drawer boxes? All the way through the finish. How long does it take then to go through finish? How long does it take to load a truck? How long is the drive of the truck? What is the efficiency of unloading the truck? What is the time to install? And being able to be plugged in at every aspect of your process.
Steven's getting all excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's
He is
just
such a
Okay, because
process
you're a
guy.
process guy? Come on down.
yeah. But it's a lot of work. It's a huge undertaking, but it gives you tremendous visibility into what's happening, and it's amazing. The companies we've worked with, where I've seen them bite the bullet and go through that, the way that their business transforms even after the implementation of it.
Right.
So kudos to you for that. But in regard, switching gears a little bit, so you have your team, and you already mentioned Dallas is a hot place. Construction, qualities, craftsmen are probably very hard to come by.
Hard to come by.
How do you deal with that?
Well, the best thing is that to this point we have good employee retention. But I do spend a lot of time in areas of trades education, talking with Dallas Independent School District, and I don't think that there's probably a business owner who is in construction who isn't aware of the crises of lack of skilled workers. And it used to be back in the day you would have shop and people would learn how to be electricians and plumbers and HVAC and finish carpenters, and that just went away. And it's a shame because people could have viable lifestyles from that. And our team members they've raised their kids, they have homes, they have cars, they've sent kids to college, etc. So I'm beginning to see a change in that because I think two things. One is there is a real awareness about college debt and how that's dragging down so many aspects of our economy. I mean, that's the number one reason that the housing economy has a drag, because folks don't have, the new up-and-comers, they don't have the down payment to be able to buy into a house because they're burdened with student loan debt. And college isn't for everyone. And I have to say that, in order to be a finish carpenter, to be a craftsman in my shop, you have to have excellent math skills, problem solving skills, analytics, spatial skills, communication, project management. It's not just a hammer and nail kind of job. So that's the only way that we can work with industry, working with education, and with some of the construction foundations in terms of trying to provide avenues and opportunities for young people to know that great careers exist in construction.
So if somebody wants to get into that industry, your industry, what's the best way for them to do that? Come knock on your door?
Well, it depends what they're interested in doing. I mean, if you're interested in drawing, then you probably need to go and get technical training so that you know how to be able to use programs like Microvellum and CAD, like what was the old draftsman type of training, but now they learn how to draw on computer-aided design. Okay. And then if you want to come and build, that's how people start. They start as a shop hand.
Okay.
And they work themselves all the way up. Matter of fact, our most senior project manager started that way, pushing a broom in a millwork shop.
Well, I've got a little background in millwork myself, so
that's right. I remember you sharing me that.
I need to come see you
yes.
later on if this real estate thing doesn't work out.
So you've been in business 25 years. What would you say? 3 biggest insights that you have learned growing and building your business?
Well, I think that the number one thing is about personal integrity and how you manage how you work with your team members and how you work with clients. And that honesty, integrity, and open communication is just kind of key to everything. Yes. And I guess we were talking about what's our motto. My motto just being that kind of whatever you put out into the world kind of comes back to you. So I think that's it. I think number 2, having the courage to make decisions, that sometimes the hard decisions are the right decisions, knowing that they're not going to be right all the time, and that you need to align yourself with something that you can be passionate about. And even though I didn't grow up in aspiring to be a mill worker, I got aligned. I've been aligned with so many things in my career that I could be passionate about, and generally it's around things or products that are of the best quality.
Well, Melanie, thanks so much for being our guest today.
Thank
you. We really enjoyed talking with you. For our listeners, if you'd like to learn more about Melanie, please go to her website, which is signaturemillwork.com. And if you want to know more about the show, please go to nextlevelshow.com, where you can see everybody we've ever interviewed, who's coming up in the future. You can watch it on video or on audio.
If you heard something that, maybe someone in the space looking for a good place to land, or maybe just an experience that needs to be shared, please pass on the word. And if you go to our Facebook page, we're going to put up pictures of Bob's millwork.
No, you're not.
And then we'll redirect you to Melanie.
See you next week.
Have a good week.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.